Hey guys, this is Dan Duran. I hope you're doing fantastic. Today we have a full day for you. First, I'm going to be setting up Debian 10 Buster on a virtual box. Second, I'm going to be installing Linux, Apache, MySQL, as well as PHP. I'm going to install a PHPMyAdmin so you can manage your database. And then number 4, I'm going to get a WordPress set up, a very vulnerable version of WordPress. And at the very end, I'm going to create a NAT, so a network between Kali Linux and the Debian 10 so we can start doing some penetration testing. So make sure you go get your coffee, buckle up, and let's get going. Hey guys, of course, if you like my content, make sure you subscribe by pressing on that button and also press on that little bell so you can get notifications as soon as more content is out. And one thing I forgot to mention, all of the tutorials, so the 5 steps that I'm going to be doing today are in chapters so you can go back and forth whenever it is convenient for you. All right, number 1. Setting up Debian 10 Buster on the virtual box. And remember, this is Windows 11, but it also works for Windows 10 and as well as macOS. This is super exciting, so let's do the first thing, which is download the OVA or DVI file, right? So I'm going to power up my Edge and I'm going to type in Linux images Debian 10, and here it is, Linux images, where is it? Here. This is a very reputable source that I use all the time for downloading different ISOs and OSs, right? So here it is. I'm going to use the regular installation, so with the GNOME desktop, just because we need to power up a few things like Firefox, Chrome, and other tools. So I'm not going to use the bare minimal. So I'll click on VirtualBox image and download this sucker. And while I do that, then what I'm going to do is power up my VirtualBox and let's create a Debian installation. Click on New, and I'm going to call it Debian 10 2 because I have another Debian somewhere in there. Make sure that the folder is users, your name, and VirtualBox VMs, Linux 64-bit. Click on Next, and yeah, this is fine in terms of RAM. We don't need much. And create a virtual hard disk in VDI, so that's what we're going to be using. Click Next, and dynamically allocated, so click on Next, and for this 8 gigabytes it's perfectly fine, and then I'm just going to create it. There you go. Now if I power it up, nothing is going to happen, right? So what I need to do is I need to go to my VMs. So, and that's inside of your PC, Windows C, then users, and then your name here, and then VirtualBox VMs. And this is the folder that you created, Debian 10-2, and here's the DVI. But as you can see, the VDI is only 2 megabytes, so it's just a placeholder. So now if I go back to my downloads, we just have to wait. One thing that you should do is also download 7-zip, right? So in another tab, just type in 7-zip download and go to the 7zip.org and download the 7-zip depending on your Windows machine, right? So if you have a 62-bit or a 32-bit just download this because that's what we're downloading right now. You need to install 7-zip to make this extraction work. Okay, perfect. So it's downloaded. I'm going to go into my downloads folder. So another, there you go. And here it is. I'm going to right click on it, then click on show more options. Remember, this is Windows 11, but this also works for Windows 10 and macOS. 7-zip and extract files. You get this little window. Select where you're going to be extracting, which is going to be your Windows C users, your name, and then VMs, VirtualBox VMs. And right here in Debian 10.2 or 10-2, that's where you have to extract this guy. So click OK and OK. And there you go. Perfect. So let me exit out of here, and right here inside of your Debian 10-2, now there's going to be another folder, this one, and this is what we downloaded. And you can see here that this is 5 gigabytes or whatever it is, and then there's a VBox and also a VDI that came along with it. So let's go back to your VirtualBox and click on settings, click on storage, and right here you click on that little disk and choose create a virtual hard disk. So don't worry about this one, which is only 2 megabytes, and it's only a placeholder. What I want to do is click on add, and then right here in Debian 10-2, select the VDI that we downloaded. Click on open, click on choose, click on OK, and then that's it. Let's get this started. Perfect. Debian ready to go. So the username is Debian and the password is going to be Debian. And let's get on it. And welcome to the Debian interface, the genome. Let's see our IP address. So terminal. Let's run it on sudo su ifconfig. And here's our IP address. Perfect. Great. All right, and that concludes setting up the Debian 10 buster on the VirtualBox. Chapter 2, install LAMP environment. So that's Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. And instead of MySQL, I'm going to use MariaDB, which is a fork of SQL, which is much better, much faster, and it's completely free. So a lot of the MySQL components are not free. You have to pay for them. Just so be aware of that. Okay, so we are here in the Debian OS. And before we get installing anything, let's do an update. So apt update && apt install. So Control L to clear the screen. And now let's install Apache and also the Apache utilities. So apt install Apache 2 and Apache 2 utils. So, oops, excuse me, install. There you go. Yes, continue. All right, now let's do a system ctl status Apache 2, and we see that it's running. Control C to exit that screen, Control L to clean the screen. Perfect. So now let's do the installation of Maria. Okay, so apt install MariaDB server and also the MariaDB client. Okay. Okay, perfect. So now let's check the status of Maria server. So system ctl MariaDB, and yes, Control C, Control L. Now we're going to do the secure installation for Maria, which is just like a 5-step process. So for that, we type in MySQL _ secure _ installation. Okay, current password, there's no password right now, so I'm just going to skip this. So click on enter, and do you want to set up a root password? Yes, we need this for the installation of the WordPress, and the new password is going to be root. So very vulnerable. Root again, and remove anonymous users. Yes, let's do that. Disallow root login remotely. No, I want to be able to log in remotely. Remove test database. Sure, let's remove that. We don't need it. Reload privileged tables now. Yes. And thanks for using MariaDB. Well, you're very welcome. Okay, so now to log into the MariaDB, then what we do is just type in MySQL, right? User, which is root, right? And then the password. P, enter password root, and there we go. So we're inside of MariaDB right now. So before we make a table or anything in here, remember we're going to be installing PHPMyAdmin to make the database management much easier than just command line, just because we're very lazy. So to exit this, just type in exit and colon, and then you're done with this. Control L to clean the screen, and we're going to install PHP 7.3. I think it's better because it is vulnerable, and we're installing an older version of WordPress, right? So for that, then let's install PHP 7.3. So apt install PHP 7.3 lib Apache 2 mod, right? PHP 7.3. So we need to install the Apache module for PHP 7.3, and we're also going to install the PHP 7.3 MySQL module, as well as a few PHP common and also PHP 7.3 CLI. So we're going to install all of this at once. Okay, perfect. So everything is installed. Now there's a whole bunch of PHP modules that we can install. So for example, PHP common, PHP 7.3 JSON, PHP 7.3 OP cache, for example, or readline, etc. But we're just going to leave it in there for the meantime. What I do want to do before we move into installing PHPMyAdmin is to make sure that Apache is working, as well as PHP 7.3, right? So let's get to that right now. All right, checking that Apache is working. That one is pretty easy. Just go to activities, click on Firefox, and as soon as it starts, then in the browser type in localhost, and there you go. So Apache is working perfectly. Now I'm going to go into activities again, go into the terminal, and let's make sure that PHP is working. And for that, I have to cd var tab www tab and ht tab. I get into there, then I do ls, and that index HTML is exactly this, right, at your local host. So I'm going to create another file called, let's call it info.php, right? So I'm going to nano this, and I'm going to put bracket question mark PHP, and then PHP info. This is going to pull up all the information about PHP with brackets, column, and then let's close this statement. There you go. And then Control X to exit, Y to say yes, and then enter. Now inside of your browser, /info.php, and that should be working now. There you go. So 7.33, and this is your PHP info. We should delete it now. For that, remove info.php ls, and there's nothing in there. Okay, so that concludes chapter 2. Now let's get installing PHPMyAdmin. Okay, great. So now we're going to install PHPMyAdmin so you can manage the database and install the WordPress application. Let's get to it. For this, we need to do wget p downloads, right? So that's where we're going to put it. And that's going to be https www.phpmyadmin.net downloads php capital M my admin latest all languages tar gzip. Okay, and let's download this. The option P, so the capital P, actually saves the file directly into the downloads directory, right? So now that we have downloaded that, we're going to skip downloading the GPG key or anything that has to do with security. So all the software that I'm downloading, I'm not checking the checksum or downloading the GPG keys or anything like that. Again, this is for penetration testing, so I want to make it as vulnerable as possible. So let's cd into the downloads, right? So cd downloads and then ls, and that's where it is, right? So now what we're going to do is let's make a directory for this inside of our web file folders, right? So make dir, and if you remember, it is var www HTML, right? So this is where it is, and we're gonna call it just admin. So we made a directory in there, and now what we do is we're going to move all of this into that folder. So what we do is tar xvf, right? PHPMyAdmin. If you click on tab, then it will populate that information, and then we're going to strip it, right, to get rid of the tar components equals to 1, and then capital C minus capital C, and then we're going to place it right on our var, right? So tab, then again www tab, then HTML tab, and then admin tab, right? So we're going to place it right here. Okay, and there you go. Okay, perfect. So now we have to create a configuration file. So let's copy the configuration file, the sample, into the configuration file. So we're going to copy var www.html admin and then config sample file inc php, right? And we're going to put it in var www.html admin, and we're going to name it now config.inc.php. So what we're doing is basically copying the sample configuration and pasting it as config.inc.php. We do that, and that's done. And now we're going to get into that file. So nano, right? I like using nano, whatever editor you favor. So var www.html admin config.inc.php. So we get into here, right? And when right here where it says blowfish secret, what we want to do is just put a secret passphrase. So it's supposed to be very strong, but I'm just going to type in passphrase to make it easy. Then after that, we get out of here, right? So Control X, yes, we save, enter, and we're here. And let me just clean this window up a little bit. There you go. And then we're going to chmod the configuration file. So chmod 660, just to make sure that it's secure. So var www.html admin and config.inc. Perfect. All right. We have to change the ownership of that file also so that Apache can use it. For that, what we do is chown, right? So this is for changing the ownership. Chmod is for setting the permissions. Chown is for changing the ownership. And then we're going to make it this recursive. So all the files inside of that folder, not just the one file. And then we're going to say www.data column www.data again, and then admin, right? So that's where it is. Click on enter, and that's done. Now the last step, couple of steps. First, we have to restart Apache. So let's restart Apache. So for that, systemctl restart Apache 2, and let's do a status Apache as well. And it's running, as you can see. Okay, let's clean this up for you, and let's go into PHPMyAdmin. So activities, browser, localhost, admin. Composer detected issues, XML. Oh, okay, so we just have to install XML, right? So let's do that right now. So let's go back to here. So apt install php-xml. All right, so now that's done. Let's restart Apache again. cdl Apache 2 there, and let's refresh this page. There it is. All right, so let's log in. Root. Okay, so we have to create a user now, right? So let's go back and create a user for this. Let's get into MySQL. So MySQL root with password. So here we are, and we're going to create a user. So create user, and we're going to call it WordPress, and then and we're going to name it localhost, right? And then identify by, and then we're going to put a password, which is going to be WordPress. Okay, so that created a user with a password. Now we're going to grant all privileges, right? So to make it admin, so grant all privileges on everything basically to WordPress at localhost with grant option. Okay, let me just make this a little bigger so you can see. Okay. Now let's restart this. I don't think I have to restart it, but I will. So I'll exit the database and systemctl, restart MariaDB. All right. And then let's go back here, refresh the page, WordPress. And we're in. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so the installation of the PHPMyAdmin is done. Now moving on to chapter 4. All right, guys, 3 done, 2 more to go. So we're going to set up WordPress now, and it's going to be an older version of WordPress, so we make it vulnerable on Debian 10. So let's get to it. All right, what we're going to do now is look for a WordPress application. So I'm going to type in old versions of WordPress. WordPress releases. This is the repository for WordPress. And I'm going to go kind of all the way back to probably here. 4.9, 4.8. All right, so let's do 4.8 here. There you go. Let's choose this one. Let's just download it and save it. Okay. So I'm here in my downloads, and let's do an ls, and there it is. So I'm going to copy this thing. So copy WordPress, and then I'm going to paste it into our var www.html. Okay. And still here, so I should have removed it. Let's remove this. Okay. Now let's go there. cd var www. There you go. So it's right there. So let's start this thing. Minus xv zf and WordPress. Perfect. So ls is right there. So let's delete 4. Okay, that's deleted. So now we have to shown recursive. So we are changing the ownership data to Apache WordPress. And we're also going to chmod 755, also recursive WordPress. Okay, great. Let's clean this up. We're going to create a database for this thing also, right? So let's log into MySQL. So MySQL, and the user is root, and the password root. All right, so let's create database. We're going to call it WordPress. Perfect. Now we're going to grant all privileges on WordPress. Everything after that to WordPress user at localhost, identify by the password, and the password is going to be password. Now we need to just flush the privileges. Okay, there you go. And let's exit. Okay. Boom. Perfect. So now if we go to PHPMyAdmin, there it is, WordPress. Our installation is right here, right? So if I go here, ls, there it is, WordPress. So let's type in localhost, WordPress, and we're ready to go. Let's see if this works. Let's go. Database name is WordPress. The username is WordPress. The password is password. Submit. All right. Run the installer. Site is going to be called Hackable. There it is. The username is admin. The password is going to be Password. Yes, I confirm that is weak. And localhost.com. And install it. Beautiful. Now we can log in. Admin. Password. And we're in. Oh, let's get rid of the updates, automatic updates, right? So in order to do that, let's go back here. So let's get into WordPress. Oops, what am I doing? There you go. CD WordPress ls config. So nano config.php. All right, so we're going to put here, right? So probably somewhere in here, and we're going to say define WP update or auto update core, and this is going to be false. Beautiful. Control X, Y, enter. There you go. So now WordPress is set up. Now we're going to move on to number 5. All right, guys. So we almost made it. Last chapter. Chapter 5, create a NAT so we can link our Kali system with our Debian 10 system together, right? So let's get into it. Okay, so let's go into our VirtualBox, and I'm going to click on File, Preferences, and then Network. And right here, I'm going to create a NAT network. I'm going to click on the plus sign, and everything is pretty good in here, right? So we'll do that. And then our Debian, so this is our Debian. We're going to go into Settings, Network. We're going to select NAT network, and here it is. This is the network we just created. And in advance, I want to make it allow all. So this is very promiscuous, right? And click OK. And that's it. Now my Kali Linux, so I'm going to use my latest Kali Linux. And if you don't know how to install Kali Linux, I have a video for that. So go into my profile and then you can search for how to install Kali Linux on the VM. Right, so I have this one here. I'm going to also change the NAT network. It's already there, okay? And going to make it allow all. It's already there. All right, so I'm just going to turn off this and then I'll come back, right? So let's power this off, and I'm going to power on my Debian, and I'm also going to power on my Kali Linux. So there's one, and here's the other one. Let me make it a little bigger for you. Oh, there. And let's see if they're talking to each other. Okay, so I'm gonna log into Kali. There it is. And I'm going to log into Debian. Power my terminal. Sudo su. Okay. And here, I'm also going to power my terminal. All right, so let's see. ifconfig. We're at, there you go, 10.0.2.6. And this one is ifconfig. This one is 10.0.2.15. So let's ping this guy. Ping 10.0.2.6. and it is pinging. Oh, there you go. And this guy, ping 10.0.2.2.15, and I'm just going to do 10 pings. All right, so they're pinging each other, they're communicating. Amazing. So now if I go here, and this is going to be the moment of truth. So it's going to be 10.0.2.15 / WordPress. There it is. Oh, doesn't look very good, does it? Let's change that. So if I go to my Firefox, I know exactly what's going on. It's not reading the style sheet or anything like that. Oh, perfect. So I'm right on the admin panel as well. So right here in settings, general, it's reading localhost, right? So I can't put localhost because that's my own machine, right? So I'm going to put my IP address, which is 10.0.2.15, and the same with this one, 10.0.2.15, and I'm going to save this. Perfect. Now if I refresh this, technically it should work, and it does. There you go. Do we have access to the internet now? So we can do that a couple of ways. So we can actually go into YouTube like this, and it seems like we do. Perfect. The other way you can do it is if you do a trace RT, trace route for Linux, google.com, and then it's going to start reading the trace route. Perfect. Amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for participating in this tutorial, and I hope you learned quite a bit. And if you have any questions, make sure you put them down below in the comment section, and subscribe. Press on the little bell so you can get notifications as soon as more videos are out. Thank you so much for participating in this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, stay secure.